Relocation.
It's relocation season.
It is relocations. It is relocation season.
Springtime.
And in relocation season, I think if in your tool bag all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think from a relocation standpoint, strategy is so important because there's so many different variables when someone is relocating not only their family but their finances to another state. And there's some things that people don't necessarily think about, and the primary thing is job. We have the conversation a lot, and so I guess a couple of things you should be considering if you're thinking about relocating is what is the job situation going to look like with the relocation? Number one, can you work remote? If you can't work remote, we have an income problem because I can't use if you're moving from California to Tennessee, that's not a reasonable daily commute, right? Yeah. And so we need a letter from the employer indicating you can work remote. That's perfect. That's one of the easiest ways to get through that. The other thing is if you're relocating to a new job, we really need to go through that, and that job needs to be in place ahead of time. But you don't necessarily need to start the job, and I think that's where sometimes people get confused. You can actually have an offer letter from that employer, and as long as it's non-contingent, meaning there isn't anything that you need to do before you can start, like a background check, right? Or maybe some sort of state licensing that's required to be able to operate in the position that you're going to operate. So I think those are that's the biggest thing is what is the job situation? What's the income situation going to look like in that relocation? Do you have a new job already lined up, or can you work remote? That's the big thing.
Yeah, I get an influx of people who are reaching out to me about relocating to Tennessee. Hey, I want to make the move to Nashville. What do I need to do? And the very first question I usually ask is, tell me about your job, because I know that's going to be a huge factor. And then from there, it's, all right, let's get you connected to a lender because you guys have the most insight about this, because anybody can make the move, anybody can have a job, but when it comes to all these requirements to securing your mortgage, the financial piece is so specific. So I'm like, talk to Keith, get some things in place before we start taking looks at relocation trips or specifics, because a lot of times these people are looking at homes on Zillow, homes online, looking at these mortgage payments. Oh yeah, I can afford that.
I can afford that with my current job.
Yeah, well, that's not even showing. The income translation, the down payment translation. Online mortgage calculators can be a great tool, but a lot of people use them incorrectly. So, step number one:
talk to a lender.
Every time. Everyone, I want to buy a home. Great. Let's get you connected to a lender. And then they're like, oh, well, I didn't.
It's the most important piece of the entire transaction.
100%.
If you're going to finance it, we got to figure that out because we can be looking at the wrong homes and that not on the right timeline as well.
I've had some lenders say, oh, it's too early to reach out.
Never.
I'm like, no, I want you to reach out, get an idea of what a range could be. If there's anything that we can do to make this more solid for you, then let's go ahead and start making those moves. But the lender conversation is the biggest conversation that you have when it comes to buying a home.
What are requirements as far as time and the different kinds of income, whether it's W-2, commission, 1099, self-employment? How long do they need to have held that position?
It's a really good question and can be quite in-depth. I mean, the easiest thing is a salary job. If you have a salary job or a set hourly job, that's a really easy transition, and we can document that. It's when it's variable in nature that we sometimes have trouble as a lender. So commission-based is a great example. And especially if you're relocating from one company to another and then we have this new job, how is that income, your historical income, going to translate to the new job that you're working at? And sometimes it doesn't. And so it's hard to put kind of a blanket, oh, it's got to be 6 months or it has to be a year. It's each individual situation is unique to the person. There are times where you can relocate from California to Tennessee and change jobs, and you're good day one. There's other times where we're going to say you need to be on that job for 6 to 12 months based on your situation and your historical income. And I think that's why it's so important to talk to the lender.
Yeah, when people reach out and I say, hey, talk to a lender, that usually gives me an idea of, are we going to be searching for homes right away? Or do we need to be looking for short-term rentals or long-term rentals? I think having a lender in your back pocket for relocations is the biggest tool that you can have in your toolbox, because that's going to give you the momentum and direction and what are my next steps.
Yeah, and I think people consider when they're thinking about the lender, it's like, well, I'm not ready for the mortgage right now. And well, that's our job, is to help facilitate the mortgage. But there's a lot of other things that we're here for. And one of those is to help people think about things that maybe they wouldn't have thought about before. And then just to answer questions. You have a lot of questions going around your brain when you're thinking about relocating from one state to another state. And our job is to just answer those questions, give you the information so that you're empowered to make the decision. The decision may be, well, we're just not going to relocate. It might be we're going to relocate now. It might be 2 years. Doesn't matter. Our job is to help people get information so that they can have what they need within such a large decision.